Welcome to the final quarter here on the CBS 8 app. I am Jake Uriani. That is one Karthik Venkatraman, and it is a beautiful off day for the San Diego Padres. Coming off a 4-game sweep of the Colorado Rockies, they now have the second best record in all of Major League Baseball. I've sat in this chair a couple times this season and told everybody to calm down. Have we calmed down yet? Have we calmed down yet?
I think they maybe it used to be tense and a lot of tension prior to this, and now it is a different kind of not calm, which is the excitement, and now they're going to win the World Series.
Now they're going to win the World Series, huh? I mean, look, I don't want to dump any cold water on this situation. It was the Colorado Rockies, an improved Colorado Rockies team, no less. But let's get into the difficult part, the wet towel that was thrown on this series, if you will, and that would be Nick Pivetta leaving that game, that series finale game on Sunday with what the Padres are calling right elbow stiffness. Karthik, I was watching this game. I actually text you and John. I text my parents, everyone I know, and I go, Nick seems to be shaking his arm a lot. And this was like 7 minutes into the game. Even before he ran out there, he's kind of shaking his arm. And then he kind of dominated for 3 innings. I thought nothing of it. And then all of a sudden, Mark Rogo, Craig Stammen pop out of the dugout, and you go, uh-oh, something might be up here with Nick. And now, look, they said it's stiffness. I think we've seen this time in and time out before, what could happen here. Not a good feeling for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to speculate anything. All we know is the elbow stiffness. But yeah, as you've mentioned, sometimes these injuries can be the worst of things, and we don't want to speculate. But just looking at, even if he's out for some time or he's going to miss a start or two, this is already a Padres rotation that is trying to kind of figure things out for themselves as far as like who their guys are. I mean, we have Michael King. He's been playing well. Herman Marquez has been there. Walker Buehler's been in there. Randy Vasquez has obviously been playing better than he has in previous seasons. But if they lose a guy like Nick Pivetta, and then you don't get a guy like Griffin Canning back till late April or May, you don't get a Joe Musgrove back till May, or
don't put a label on that.
Or maybe even
Who
later. It's just like all of a sudden you're just like, okay, do they have to call up a guy like JP Sears? Like, what is that going to look like? And Pivetta, other than that first start, has been pitching pretty well. So, it is kind of one of these things where you don't want to speculate too far down the road until the Padres tell us more. But at the same time, you think in your head, like, they can't afford to lose a starting arm right now.
Yeah, and I don't think it takes a whole lot of speculation to think this will take, at a minimum, a little bit of time. Like, I know Craig Stammen said that, hey, he might make his next start. I don't see that being possible, even if it is the situation they talked about in spring training where he had that elbow stiffness. They shut him down for whatever it was, 7 to 10 days. He came back out. He threw the ball pretty well, right? Even in a best-case scenario, I think you see Nick Pivetta hit the IL or at least sit out for a little bit here. I think the corresponding move is Matt Waldron comes up. He's a guy that's looked good and getting ready to have to come off of the IL and be called up to the San Diego Padres. But I think that's best-case scenario, that you're missing Nick Pivetta for just a short period of time. I know we don't want to speculate, but, man, have we been around the block with some of these before. We'll see. We'll wait and hear from the team, but it's definitely a big blow for the San Diego Padres if Nick Pivetta misses significant time, and then, forbid, even more than that. And, again, I mentioned it was kind of a wet towel. While all that happened, the Padres are playing really, really good baseball. Yes, it's the get-right Rockies. Yes, it was a team that was historically one of the worst of all time a season ago. But that doesn't take anything away from how they played when you look back on the road trip in Boston, in Pittsburgh, then here in Colorado. And this is a team you still got to take care of business against, and they did. And they got Slug in there, and they looked good on the mound. And there was just so many positives to take away from this series against the Colorado Rockies that they can now couple into taking on the Mariners and then hitting the road to take on the Angels and the Rockies again.
For sure. I don't care if it's the Colorado Rockies. I don't care if it's the Chicago White Sox. At the end of the day, for the San Diego Padres, a sweep is a sweep. You get 4 wins in a series of a four-game series. That's what it is. You did it. And they came up with some clutch wins. They could have folded in those moments. In the first game, they fell down a couple of times in extra innings, found a way to come back. Then the awesome grand slam from Xander Bogaerts. Gavin Sheets shows you the home runs. I think what impressed me, honestly, the most about this Rocky series, other than they got 4 straight wins, and it's hard to just sweep a team in general, even if they're bad. That was impressive. But it was the slugging, and it was the home run power. A lot of different guys were hitting home runs. And that's what you want to see if you're the Padres. Gavin Sheets got a couple. Xander Bogaerts got the big grand slam. Freddie Fermin, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Luis Campusano, throw him in there. There was a lot of guys that were hitting for power. And yes, it's the Rockies and all that jazz, sure. But it's a nice, promising sign. It's also a nice, promising sign when a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr., who's been in as big of a slump as you could have to start the season, get back-to-back multi-hit games. These are all positive signs because if nothing else, it's confidence. This team, I'm sure they believed in themselves, but they believe in it a little more now that we're going to get this thing going. It's our time. And that belief is big in sports. It's not just about the physical attributes. It's so much about the mental. And so for the Padres, I think that's huge.
It's funny you mentioned Luis Campusano, and then you kind of talk about belief, and you're talking about a team as a whole, but you could really mention that with Luis Campusano in general. I want to give a lot of credit to Craig Stammen and his staff, who day one when I was out at spring training said Luis Campusano is going to be on this roster. He is going to contribute. And I don't know if Luis Campusano has ever had that at the major league level from a manager and from the San Diego Padres. And now Craig Stammen and his staff have really empowered Luis Campusano. And look at what he is doing while being empowered. He's starting to hit the ball with some serious authority, some El Paso authority, if you will. He's been much better defensively behind the plate. He's an ABS wizard for the San Diego Padres. And I think there's a realistic conversation to say, hey, he might be taking some time away from Freddie Fermin right now, especially when you talk about, hey, Freddie was kind of Nick's guy. If Nick does go to the IL or miss some time, maybe that's more opportunity for Luis Campusano. But as much as people freaked out about Craig Stammen at the beginning of this entire season, I think he's done some really, really good things. And one of those great examples is what Luis Campusano has been and has done for the San Diego Padres. People may have already forgotten. Xander Bogaerts doesn't hit that walk-off grand slam if Luis Campusano doesn't come up with a clutch, and I mean clutch double, 2 outs, right, to tie that game and then get to the 12th inning for Xander Bogaerts. This guy has been quite good, and I really am happy for Luis Campusano, who I think most people on the planet had given up on. But this San Diego Padres staff and front office in this new regime said, no, you will be a part of this team. Now, granted, they had a pretty much time to say that because he was running out of time.
They don't really have another choice either.
Right, but to empower him and to see what he's done, I think has been really big for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last couple of seasons, everything you've heard about Luis Campusano is this guy can bat, and he can bring the bat, but we hadn't really seen it. He didn't really get a lot of playing time last year. I know I haven't really been here in San Diego all that long, but based off of what I've seen, you see him come in the games, and then you're just like, oh, this is going to be another out. But this year, he's in well. If I'm not wrong on this, I believe I looked at the stats. He is the highest batting average and the highest OPS on the team right now. And this is a guy that's been playing particularly well as of late. It seems like every single time he comes up to the plate, if he's getting a hit, it's an extra base one, like a double or something like that. And so for that, he's been playing awesome. I do think he will take some time away from Freddie Fermin because if he continues to hit the way he is and you're keeping him around the bottom of the lineup, that's huge. That's a huge way to turn over the lineup, especially if he can get an extra base hit, and then you got your top of the lineup with a chance to bring him home.
I think the vibes are really high around this team after that 4-game sweep. How could they not, of course? And I got a very rare opportunity. You know, we had the game on CBS 8 this Saturday, and I was able to talk to A.J. Preller one-on-one, sit down, ask him some questions that I think a lot of people have been wondering about. You know, I think people love to call me Mr. Positive and Mr. Forward and all that stuff, but we were able to sit down and have some serious conversation. Here's a portion of my interview with A.J. Preller from this past Saturday discussing the state of the San Diego Padres. You've always been very honest, always straightforward, which I appreciate. It allows me to be straightforward in my job. There was a lot of outside noise when Craig Stammen was hired. I heard the word puppet thrown around all the time. Hey, the Padres hired him. He's a puppet for the organization. He's a puppet for A.J. Preller. Without leading the witness, how would you assess Craig Stammen's start to his managerial career, and are you the great ventriloquist that everybody thinks that you are?
I mean, anybody that knows Craig knows he's his own person, and that's a big reason why we wanted him here. We give a lot of autonomy to our managers. We always have. We try to give them as many resources as possible. I think, you know, probably the biggest thing I've seen is just the development of his staff. I mean, and that's a big part, and that's going to serve us well throughout the year. You know, getting on the plane, the road trips, the conversations, the group's constantly talking baseball. They have a ton of respect for him, and he's got them on the same page, and I think that's going to play out for us very well. I think one of the other nice things with Craig, and I think he says it every night, is that, if something doesn't quite go our way or his way, he's the first person to say, yeah, maybe I could have done this a little different or better. And I think that's going to serve him very well. That's what any good leader does, is, self-reflect and self-assess and then make some adjustments. So I think he's a better manager now today than he was 2 weeks ago. He's going to be a better manager in June than he's going to be in May. And he's a very dynamic leader and a great person. And I think the clubhouse feels that.
It's no surprise that this team is up for sale, likely be a new owner in here maybe by the end of the month. What would you like to see in that new owner, and what would you hope your relationship is with that new owner or ownership group?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I think all Padre fans and Friar faithful and myself, it's just like, the group that just loves the game of baseball, loves the city of San Diego, and wants to bring a winner here. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But, I think the biggest thing, Peter Seidler, Ron Fowler, that group, they love baseball. It's the reason why I came here and wanted to be here. And you see it with the fan base. So I think when you have that synergy and that back and forth from an organization, and then have an owner that's the leader that just truly loves the game of baseball. I think all the groups are going to have tremendous resources, but the groups that love the game, I think that usually, again, it ends up putting you in the right place in the right spot, and gets the whole organization in the right on the right setting. So I think that's we're looking forward to it. It's been a few years here now where have some clarity and have some closure, and have a new voice here soon, and a new ownership group. We're excited about it.
When you think about the future of this organization, where do you see? You guys have a lot of players on big contracts, some of them later in their years. You have a farm system that technically ranks in the bottom right now. Is there any concern for kind of the future of the organization based on how it's currently constructed?
No, I mean, I think we've been hearing now about sustainability for about 6 years or so. So I think, it's always a challenge for any organization, like no matter, whatever stage you feel like you're at. I think, again, I think for us, you have, when you look at players like Tatis at 27 years old, it should be the prime of his career. Jackson Merrill just getting into, hopefully the prime of his career and into his most productive seasons. It's a good place to start, and again, I think for us, it's having that core foundation of players that you have year in, year out, and then you've got to hit the draft and the international, and you've got to find some players every single year that can come up and supplement that group. So we have a great, our scouting and player development group, I feel like is as good as anybody in the game. We've produced as many players as anybody in the game, and I don't think that's going to change.
I don't know if you remember this, but it's seared into my brain. You and I were out in Chicago, Wrigley Field. Season had just come to an end. We were out doing some live shots in an empty Wrigley Field, and I walked down to the bottom by the dugout, and there's one person out on the field at Wrigley, and it was you on your phone. And I don't know if you were working, what you were doing, but the fact that you were kind of grinding away, and then you walked over to the dugout and you looked up to me and said, we're going to get one here soon. I know we're going to get one here soon. What is it about that passion, that grind that just never stops for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's throughout the whole organization. So it's, it's easy to have that when, everybody in the organization, we have so many people that, they're just, if you're going to be good at anything, you have to be super passionate about it. Now, we talk about it with players, we talk about it with staff members. It can't be a chore to come to the ballpark or get on the field and practice and work. And, I think for myself, it's, it's just a way of life. It's just a lot of fun, to tell you, we work in baseball. You cover baseball for a living, it's cool, and it's you could be doing a lot of different things. So I think for us, like, it starts with that. And I remember that obviously you lose those playoff series and the end comes pretty quickly, and the last few years you're expecting to go to the World Series, but you come back to Petco and you see this ballpark and the fan base, and you walk around San Diego and the people are so passionate about winning something for the first time here, and that's the reason why I came here. Ultimately, that's the reason why we have a lot of people in the organization that's super passionate about giving back and hopefully having that feeling that we all have had at different moments here in San Diego. That time in San Diego was in Chicago was one of the rougher moments, when you lose a tough playoff series and don't get it done. But you start fresh this year. We have a good team again, and it's all about the big stage. From day one I got here, it was like that big stage is not sneaking into a wild card round. That big stage is playing in the World Series. That's what motivates us every day.
All righty. Thank you very much to Mr. A.J. Preller for sitting down. That's our once-a-decade interview, as he told me. Hopefully we get a couple more in there before the decade comes to an end. Now, one thing, Karthik, that caused a big stir. I've actually laughed at this a lot. I kind of want to get on a tiny little soapbox here.
Go for it.
Let me fix my hair before I get on the soapbox, because I'm going to get on the soapbox. This entire season, every single game, I don't know if you feel the same way, Every time a lineup comes out, people are, oh my goodness, how could you do this? Or how could you do that? Why does the lineup look like this? Why is he hitting there? Why is he hitting there? Who's playing here? Who's playing there? It's been ludicrous. And Craig Stammen, give him a lot of credit in the sense of him willing to change the lineup, willing to do things different. I will say, this Saturday, it did happen to be for the first time where I went, wait, what? And that would be Fernando Tatis Jr. playing second base for the San Diego Padres. And look, we talked to Craig Stammen. He had great reasoning, and it was, we think he's the best second baseman on our roster that isn't named Jake Cronenworth. And when Jake Cronenworth either slides over to short or has a day off, Fernando's going to be that guy until Sung-Moon Song comes back. Or maybe Fernando's just going to be that guy because he's such a great athlete. It worked out great for the Padres, in my opinion. And it kind of sparked Fernando at the plate. You mentioned it earlier. Well, in his 2 starts at second, Karthik, the guy had 5 hits and 9 at-bats.
Yeah, I definitely think that it sparked him. It's something new, and I think it's a challenge, and it probably got him from I'm struggling mentality and things aren't going, because those were the questions he got, to all of a sudden, you're trying something new like this. I think it does kind of juice somebody up to be like, okay, I'm going to take this challenge. I know he's been taking grounders for quite some time, and he's been practicing in that role, but just from a mental aspect of it, that new challenge, I do think probably helped him at the plate, because also in the infield a lot, you're not just waiting in the outfield for a ball to come out your way and you have to go catch it. The infield's active. You got to be active there in the infield. So I think it keeps him going through the game, and it gets him, not that he needs it. We've seen him obviously be out in right field and he still gets it going during a game and go absolutely ballistic with the bat. But I do think to get him jump started, this was a big one, and he performed well. He helped turn a double play. He almost tagged somebody out early in the game. There was a lot of stuff for him right there where he can show. I mean, this is a guy who used to play shortstop. It's not like he doesn't know what to do in the infield, and obviously he's a freak athlete. So all things considered, I think he's a fantastic. I mean, if you're 2 guys that you're going to be playing at second base, if it's not Sung-Moon Song and you're going to keep Fernando Tatis Jr. there at the backup, I can't think of a guy, the defense that Jake Cronenworth is bringing at second base and the athleticism that we know Fernando Tatis Jr. has. That's fantastic at second base for the Padres.
It is hilarious. This guy comes up as a shortstop, and a pretty good shortstop at that, and he plays. I know he had some errors here and there, but he was still electric at short. And then they go, hey, we're going to move you to right field. He agrees. It's for his health. He goes and wins 2 platinum gloves. 2 platinum gloves. Not just a gold, 2 platinum gloves. And then they go, hey, look, we need a little help. We need you to go play some second base. And he does it great. The guy could probably do anything. He'd probably get up on the bump and throw 75 miles an hour too. It was a great, I think, example of what Craig Stammen is all about with the San Diego Padres. Willing to listen to the players, willing to try new things, and it's such a far cry from the Mike Schilt days. I think one thing I actually talked to Jackson Merrill about, amongst a lot after a victory on Saturday, was what Craig Stammen does great and, what he thinks is going right for the team. And here is Jackson after that victory over the Rockies on Saturday night.
Jackson, 7 of your last 8 now, victories. What's got this team rolling in the right direction?
Just coming together as a family, spending a lot of time together, and figuring out how we can win games. It's just, some guys don't perform well, the other guys pick us up.
Offense seems to be rolling now, putting up a lot more runs than maybe early in the year. What has the offense going right?
Yeah, man. Earlier in the year, we faced some tough arms. We're still facing tough arms, but a lot of focus, a lot of effort in our preparation. So shout out to the guys and what they've been doing.
I know maybe statistically you're not exactly where you want to be at the plate, but you seem to be hitting the ball really hard. Where are you at mentally?
Yeah, man. It's tough. It's baseball, but at the end of the day, you got to come back tomorrow and fight to live another day. Hitting the ball hard, like you said, it's just it'll find grass eventually. Got a lot of years left on this contract, so hopefully it'll find some grass.
In this short sample size, how has Craig Stammen, the manager, been during the regular season?
He's let us be ourselves. He's been a good manager. He's done what he's supposed to, but at the main point, he's letting us be ourselves, letting us be the team we want to be. So we appreciate him more than anything.
What do you think about your second baseman today?
Yeah, he's electric. He loves the infield. What can I tell you? And it showed with his bat today. So, hopefully a lot more innings in the infield to come.
Last one I got for you. Every game's been a sellout, incredible crowd. I know we sometimes take it for granted here, but how has this atmosphere been?
Yeah, man, it's been electric. It felt super loud tonight. So, shout out to our fans, and let's keep it going.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, so now the question the obvious question comes up. When do we get Jackson Merrill back at shortstop? And getting, no, I was kidding. Jackson's always
I think
great
I threw
for
that
us.
out there last year for funsies.
I posted that interview on social media, and a lot of people were like, it's a hint. Jackson's going to get out there shortstop.
When Xander fractured his foot last year, I said, could they throw him in there?
I didn't think it definitely wasn't possible last year under Mike Schill. That would have never happened. Now, I won't say no to anything with Craig Stammen, but obviously, mostly joking, mostly. You never know. But Jackson's great. Padres been rolling. A big part of what's helped them, by the way. One, they got Jason Adam back. We talked about that. Obviously, Jeremiah Estrada goes to the IL. But speaking of some of the great pieces in this bullpen, I mean, how about this cat? David Morgan has really been strong for the San Diego Padres. And I said this on live television the other day out at Petco Park. I said, yeah, he may not throw 104, Karthik, like Mason Miller. He may not have a Frisbee slider like Jason Adam, but the dude just gets outs, and he has been pretty dominant to start this year for the Friars.
For sure. I think he's a guy who can eat innings. You can use him as a guy as an opener. You can use him as a guy who's an extended reliever. You can toss him in there for one inning. He's very versatile in what he's able to provide for this Padres baseball team in the different ways that he's able to, as you said, get those outs. He's not a very strikeout guy, but a lot of times he does get the outs needed to keep the Padres going. And if you're in a game when you're up like 3-0 and you're not wanting to use one of those high leverage arms, he's a fantastic arm to go to really get some innings, kind of like what Kyle Hart's been able to do for this team this year so far. So, I think it's big for the Padres to once again have another guy in their bullpen that can go eat up some big innings for this team to save those big arms that you want in other situations. And these second tier guys, if you will, they don't feel like it all the time because they do pitch well themselves. But the fact that they're able to come in, step in games, and really help solidify this team, once again, just proves why the Padres have the best bullpen, if not one of the best bullpens in all of baseball.
He also has a pretty incredible story. This is a guy who is from San Diego. He went undrafted. He went through some serious tragedy, and he was very kind to give me a few moments of his time to discuss his journey, his path, and his life overall.
You grew up in San Diego, grew up idolizing, from what I understand, Trevor Hoffman. What does it mean to wear these colors, even though Trevor didn't wear these colors, but to wear these colors, to put on the Padre uniform?
It means everything to me. I was talking to my dad the other day about it and how proud he is to be able to come here and watch me play, and that means the world to me. To make it to the big leagues is one thing, to do it in your hometown is another, so very grateful.
As somebody that's tattooed myself, some that are very meaningful, I know you have those tattoos down your neck. If you're willing to talk about it, could you kind of explain to the folks what those are?
Yeah, it was my coach, John Altabelli at Orange Coast College, passed away in the helicopter accident with Kobe Bryant. So ended up losing his daughter as well in that, and his wife. That was a big moment for me, a big wake-up call for me, and kind of left me on my own to figure out what I was going to do in this game. And he was a big reason why I work the way I do, and big reason why I show up every single day with the mindset that I do, is because this can be taken away from you at any moment. So having him on the side of my neck and on my hand, just a reminder of where I came from and my roots of what got me here. And yeah.
I don't know the hand one. What's the hand one?
It's just his number, 14 forever. He wore number 14. My mom made a point that Stammen wears 14 as well, so it's kind of cool to be here and see that number every single day. Right before I got called up, I was in locker number 14. The day before I got called up, I was in that locker. I remember a lot of signs to him watching down on me and making sure that I'm all right and making my way here.
How much does it mean to you when you get to go out on that mound and represent him and pitch for him wearing these colors?
It means the world, yeah. Actually, the new City Connects being navy and orange, those are the colors I wore with him. So really cool, just really special, kind of hard to put into words how I found my way here, and knowing that he's watching down, proud of me.
You're the best, man. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Best of luck this year.
I mean, what an incredible story that is for David Morgan, and the impact it's had on his life, his career, and he's just been really wonderful this year for the San Diego Padres, and it warms my heart. So, been awesome to see, and the Padres got everything rolling in the right direction for now. Again, they'll host the Mariners for 3 starting on Tuesday. Then they'll head up the road to Anaheim to take on the Angels, and then it's the Rockies, and then both the Chicagos. Anything baseball related you wanted to add before we move on to the Lynx, Karthik?
Not really, man. I think you do have to give Craig Stammen his flowers. He had a lot of criticism, and I gave him a little bit because I do think some of the slow start was off to him. But as I also said, he's a first-year manager. He's going to continue to get stuff figured out. I really think it's cool how he delegates off, and I really think it's cool how he does try to change things up to see what is the best. It's so early in the season. Trying to find what's best for the team is important, and I do think he is a player's coach, and so I'll give him his flowers today and save the criticism maybe for another time, or maybe we don't have to go down the criticism road again.
What part of the slow start was his fault?
I just think some of the decisions with pitching and rotation, and I do think at first just trying to figure out the lineup himself were not technically his fault. I just think like he wasn't making, it's not like I thought negatively, like Craig Stammen can't do this. They're just awful, terrible decisions he doesn't know how to manage. It was just kind of like, I mean, I'm not a baseball manager, but in some positions where he had thrown a Wandy Peralta, I'd be like, okay, why not Adrian Morejon here? Or, sometimes with the lineup, like I didn't understand why guys were somewhere there. But as I've said, and I have been saying, he's been trying to just figure it out. And he's said this a lot in his press conferences. And I do think delegating it off to the assistants and finding different ways. And I think his, once again, decision to move Tatis into second and give him a new spark is a fantastic decision. I think those kind of things of thinking outside the box are what make him a really good manager. He's still very young in his career. And I think as the season goes on, as AJ Preller told you, he's going to get better week by week. And, next month from now, I expect him to be a way better manager than he is. So those are the expectations that I have for him.
All righty. Okay.
Jake trying to audit my path. You go look at the tape, Gary, Annie.
I did. You criticized him unnecessarily. But
I
that's
did
okay.
not.
Fine, whatever. We'll move on. We've talked a lot.
Those are lies.
They're all posted. Everyone can look them up.
Exactly. Go look them up.
To figure out that you whatever. All right, we'll move on. I don't need to go down this path. What a weekend it was for somebody other than the San Diego Padres. And that would be one Rory McIlroy, who wins the Masters back-to-back. This was pretty incredible stuff, Karthik. He becomes just the fourth golfer ever to defend his title at the Masters and take home that green jacket in back-to-back years. We know last year he accomplished the career Grand Slam, became just the sixth golfer to ever do that. This is a guy who has really further cemented his legacy as one of the game's all-time greats. And it felt like he was going to blow it this year. He almost choked this time around, and we had seen that in years past before he won his first green jacket. And I thought everyone thought, oh, all right, cute story. Yes, he won his career Grand Slam, and that's going to be that. And then he had that six-shot lead. He did the bulk of his work Thursday and Friday, blew the six-shot lead, and people kind of wrote him off Sunday when he was 9 under. Dude comes back and wins another Masters.
I think people need to look at Rory McIlroy in a different light. He's not a choker. He has now become a man who can face the pressure. Last year, it came down to the wire at the Masters, and he had to make some big shots to sink it through, and he did it. And I think that was a huge weight off of his shoulders to where he can get in a position where he kind of lets loose. He had a 6-stroke lead after 2 rounds and then goes and it slowly starts getting chipped away. And you're like, thankfully for him, if you're a fan of him, that he got such a big lead. But even as, he choked it up, he was still having the mental fortitude to figure it out and still get the job done because he's been there before and he's been in the pressure moments. And I think that's huge for Rory because I think people should look at him in a different light because I think he looks at himself in a different light. You go look at past interviews with this guy and he said it's about belief. And he got that belief when he got the monkey off of his back by winning the Masters last year. And now I think he truly believed, even as things weren't going his way and things got really tight at the end, that belief that he could still get it done. And he got it done. And he's back-to-back. And not many people can say that. But Tiger is the last one to do it in 2001, 2002, like a quarter century ago. Like, what are we talking about here? This guy is rarefied air, and that's where he needs to be talked about in the golf history.
Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo, Sir Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods. Those are the only other 3 people on the planet that can say they won the Masters in back-to-back years. And now Rory McIlroy has done so. I think people love to throw around that word choke. People don't have a better vocabulary to say that golf is really hard, and sometimes it gets the best of you. In the world. And you're playing Augusta National. And I think for a long time, because Rory was chasing that career Grand Slam, it was all magnified, right? Everything was tenfold because he was trying to capture that uncapturable thing that only 5 other people on the planet had ever done. And then he did it. And now he did it again. And it's amazing that it took him 17 years to accomplish that career Grand Slam, and then he does it back-to-back. Throw all that nonsense about choking, all that nonsense about not being clutch out the window. Rory McIlroy is one of the greatest golfers this game has ever seen.
Yeah,
can't believe I waited 17 years to get one green jacket, and I get 2 in a row. It's just sort of the way. I don't know. I think all of my perseverance at this golf tournament over the years has really started to pay off. It was a tough weekend. I did the bulk of my work on Thursday and Friday, but just so happy to hang in there and get the job done.
I gave that great analysis, and all you had to say was, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I was
I cut you off a
I
little
was
bit.
actually about to give him a shout out because, Jake, you know where I'm going with this. I'm a graduate of East Tennessee State University, man. And Rory McIlroy had a chance to go play some college golf, and he signed a national letter of intent with none other than ETSU, only to choose to go to pro golf, man. He could have been an ETSU Buccaneer just like me. Me and Rory could have been the boys, but I still claim him. I still claim him ETSU.
You can't claim him. We never swung a single club.
He signed a national letter of intent to go play collegiate golf.
It doesn't mean
He
anything.
didn't go to any other college, but he wanted to go to one ETSU. I claim him.
That's a terrible
ETSU's pride and joy, Rory McIlroy.
All right, well, ETSU as their back-to-back Masters champion.
Yes, we do.
Congratulations to Rory McIlroy.
And ETSU.
I think SDFC would love to have a little bit of Rory McIlroy mojo right now. They can't seem to get anything right for the Azul and Chrome. It has been a really, really rough stretch for them, coupled by another loss this past weekend, hosting Minnesota. And once again, it's the same old story at this point for San Diego FC. It's inexperience and it's lack of depth, and now it's just like red cards like crazy. 6 straight matches with a red card. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. They take the 1-0 lead in this match, and then they blow it. They lose 2-1. They get that 6th red card. Nothing really seems to be going right for San Diego FC. And again, it's just like your center backs rotating red cards, the inexperience on the defense, the inexperience in net, and it's all starting to show up for this team. And now they haven't won in, 5 or 6 matches? It's just been a rough stretch for Mikey Varas and the team.
Yeah, for sure. Taking CONCACAF Champions Cup play aside, and if we're just going to talk about the MLS, 2 draws and 2 back-to-back losses, we haven't seen a stretch like this from San Diego FC. I know it's a very young history for this team, but we haven't seen this, and this is not something that fans are used to, and it's tough. And Mikey Varas has said multiple times, we'll be the first to raise our hands and talk about how we're not playing well right now and how we're not living up to the standards. He's also said that he feels like his team's gotten bad calls, and some of those red cards shouldn't have been red cards, and there should have been some fouls called on others. But at the end of the day, the 2 goals that Minnesota scored in this game, both of their attackers jump up in the air before a defender for San Diego FC able to really make a play on the ball. That's how they were able to get both their goals, and an unfortunate deflection on the second one. And then the red cards, it's just kind of one of those things, like, I imagine the opposing head coach is going up to the rest before this game and like, hey, watch this guy. He has a lot of red cards. I don't want him taking cheap shots on my players. So putting yourself in a situation where you could potentially give like that extra nudge, or you go in, I think like a guy like Christian McVeigh and a guy like Manu Dua, who has picked up as many red cards as they have this season, refs may look at it a different way going into it. I don't know the full story. I'm not there standing on the pitch. But at the same time, like, got to find yourself not to give yourself in that position. Christian McVeigh, 2 yellow cards. So those are 2 times in which he put himself in a questionable enough position to get another red card. And it sucks. Like, I mean, for San Diego FC, Mikey Varas once again said it's hard to play pretty much every match down a man. And each of their last 6 matches, they've played down a man at some point and down 2 men at one point because they lost in Vartson. And I believe it was maybe Dewar. It was obviously Dewar or McVeigh in that Toluca match in which they ended up winning late in that match. I believe it was Dewar. But my point being is just like this team has got to play sharper all around. It would obviously help if Anders Dreyer was able to come up there and score. He had amazing opportunities in that match the other night, just wasn't able to come up with one. And, that's tough. The success of this team early in the season was Anders Dreyer was playing really well, and Marcus Ingvartsen was scoring goals left, right, and center and dishing out some assists too. Ingvartsen wasn't in the starting lineup the other night. They decided to go with Lewis Morgan there in that center attacking position instead. What San Diego FC is going to do, how they're going to shift around these guys, and Amal Pellegrino hasn't been playing because he's dealing with that Achilles that he dealt with so much in San Jose. We'll see where this team's going to go moving forward.
Yeah, it feels like the book is out a little bit too on how teams expect to play against San Diego FC. I think for a while and early in their history, teams were sitting back a little bit, kind of letting San Diego do that ball control thing that they love to do. And now it feels like teams are being on the attack against San Diego FC, especially in their defensive third, really putting the pressure on them because of that young back line like we talked about, because of the times Duran Ferree were in net. And putting the pressure in that area on them seems to be the move. We'll see how Mikey Varas and San Diego FC want to counter against it. But yeah, definitely been a tough stretch for the Azul and Chrome, and we'll see where they go from here. To your point, Mikey's the first guy to throw his hand up and go, look, we got to correct it. We got to get it right. We'll see if they can do it. It was such a fast start to the year. I think we're also spoiled here because of their success so quickly in their history and at the beginning of this year that you mentioned that rough patch that they're going through. Let's see how they bounce back, really, for the first true rough patch in their history. That is it for us on the final quarter on the CBS 8 app. Karthik, I'm putting up the graphic, which means you get the final words as we say goodbye.
Hey, the San Diego Padres right now are on pace for 100 wins.
100. I like it.
If 10-6, if you multiply that over 162, on pace for 100 wins.
I don't do math, but I think that gets you in the playoffs.
That math be mathin', baby.
You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you next